Hey y'all, Snarky J Cosplay here. It's no secret that the DCEU has had more fumbles than successes, especially when compared to the constant record breakers that the MCU has put out over the past 14 years. It makes it tough to be a DC fan, especially when so many of the characters are arguably more interesting than Marvel's. They're just burdened with pretty terrible films. With Warner Bros. Being bought by Discovery, I'm left wondering, is the DCEU dead? The DCEU kicked off in 2013 with the release of Man of Steel, and just 3 years later, without ever letting us see what kind of Batman Ben Affleck was really gonna be, they gave us Batman vs Superman, which also shoehorned in Wonder Woman and was more relevant for the memes it gave us than any success it actually could have had among fans. And let's face it, movies like Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and Wonder Woman 1984 have not really helped the DCEU's case. The Justice League was super disappointing, and even though fans made enough of a fuss for Zack Snyder's Justice League to be released years later, it wasn't enough to stop the Snyderverse from being axed. With Cavill and Affleck out as Superman and Batman respectively, and now Ezra Miller literally being Reverse Flash and wreaking havoc on the law and Barry Allen's movie potential, the Snyderverse is basically dead and dusted. With Discovery's recent acquisition of Warner Bros., it's worth asking if the DCEU is even alive or if it's just dead in the water waiting for a complete reboot. A lot of these questions are stemming from the recent and shocking cancellation of Batgirl, with Warner Bros. Discovery choosing to cut their losses and effectively bury their $90 million investment. Supposedly they did this in the best interest of the DCEU. After Batgirl was supposedly called irredeemable at test screenings, the new CEO of Warner Bros. Discovery says that they're not gonna be putting out movies that they don't believe in anymore. It was really disappointing for a lot of fans hoping to see Keaton come back as Batman, though he should still be reprising his role if the Flash movie ever gets to see the light of day. Personally, and I know it's a hot take, I'm not all that bummed about Batgirl being cancelled. While I empathize with the talented cast and crew involved in the project, I'd rather see weak projects get canned than have them released, pay to watch them in theaters, and then regret being a fan of DC all over again. The MCU basically made the blueprint for superhero super franchises. Their cinematic universe is kind of genius. They fleshed out 3 major characters over the course of 4 years before they put out their first team-up movie. And since the release of The Avengers in 2012, they've been putting out box office win after box office win, with no end in sight. The MCU is now scheduled into 2024 and beyond. It was revealed this week that the guys up top at Warner Bros. Discovery are now trying to create a 10-year plan that's really similar to Marvel's. The CEO named 4 characters/brands that they're gonna be focusing on: Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and Aquaman. And honestly, hearing that list, I have to wonder if this is even worth it anymore. Wonder Woman 1984 was so bad that it essentially killed off any fan interest in the character. And I'm sorry, that movie's poor reception is not based on the fact that it was released during COVID. It was just a bad movie. It was a bad script, and it would have been reviewed just as terribly had it come out on the big screen. After the whole controversy with Batgirl, most of us aren't even sure who Batman is in the DCEU. Sure, we loved Matt Reeves' The Batman and we loved Joker, but those 2 films are actually completely separate from the DCEU, so we can't even expect to see Robert Pattinson have anything to do with the Justice League in future projects. Batfleck, who many of us wanted to see more of, is pretty much out aside from appearing in Aquaman 2. Maybe one of the biggest mistakes that Warner Bros. Has made recently is letting Henry Cavill go. In my opinion, casting Henry as Superman is one of the most on-point casting choices of any superhero film in the past 2 decades, and even he didn't want to keep working with Warner Brothers. The first Aquaman film was somehow well received. I personally couldn't even get through the whole movie, but the sequel is now plagued by the whole Amber Heard controversy that Warner Brothers has been trying to ignore since it started. In essence, as it stands right now, the DCEU is dead, and the plan to try and copy the MCU here has kind of come too late. By now, most DC DC fans know that Warner Bros. Has just been throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. And with every release, we're basically just praying that they haven't made another load of hot garbage for Marvel fanboys to laugh at us about. And that doesn't make for excited fans and positive reviews. Marvel already has 14 years, tons of hard work, and a lot of success invested in their cinematic universe. They've seen the results on a massively marketable scale. As somebody who loves both Marvel and DC, I think that most Marvel fans don't even see DC as playing in the same league as them. When you're comparing the MCU and the DCEU looks like Little League, if not just a bunch of little kids running around a field playing t-ball. That being said, I don't think all hope is lost for the DCEU. Even if characters like Batman and Superman have to be recast and rebooted, films like The Suicide Squad, The Batman, and Joker have all reinvigorated the public's interest in the DC universe. With movies like Black Adam and Shazam 2 slated for release over the next year, I think Warner Bros. Discovery is more than capable of at least keeping the DCEU afloat long enough for them to revive and restart it into something both fans and casual viewers are excited to watch. So, what are your thoughts? Can the DCEU actually compete with Marvel? Is it worth saving, or are you over it? Let me know in the comments. That's all from me. I've been Snarky J. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on the DCEU in the comments below.